Gold has been the ultimate symbol of wealth for centuries, but what if the future of value is not something you can hold, but something entirely digital? The big question everyone is asking is, could Bitcoin really be the new gold? Stick around as we step into the new world order, where age-old assets like gold battle the digital revolution of Bitcoin. It's August 27, 2024, and you are watching the Tech Tale series. Take a second, subscribe to this channel to support and stay up to date with the latest events in the tech space. Before we go into the heavy stuff, let us start with a fun little exercise. Imagine we could slice up Bitcoin and gold and distribute them amongst ourselves. How would that work? Well, for gold, the smallest slice you can get is called a grain. That is worth about $4. Not bad for a tiny speck of metal. Now, if we are dividing up Bitcoin, the smallest piece you can get is called a Satoshi, or sat as Bitcoiners call it. At today's prices, one sat is worth about nothing. But while it is even tinier in value, don't let that fool you. Those sats can add up quickly, but here is the real kicker. Can these digital grains stack up against gold's centuries-old reputation? Let us dig in and find out. First, let us talk about something you might not think about every day. How is money actually created? To illustrate this, we will use the famous baker's dough analogy. Here is how it works. Central banks, like the Federal Reserve, are like bakers. They mix ingredients like trust, credit, and assets to create money. But, unlike a cake, you can keep adding ingredients without limits. They literally do this. Printing, and printing, and printing more and more money. Bankers tell us to call this fractional reserve banking, a wonderful system where banks lend out more money than they actually have in reserves. Overthinkers say that is printing money out of thin air, and they actually have a case. It works because people trust the system will not collapse, and this has been the case because we have been dumb enough to imagine nothing can go wrong or they cannot get some for themselves. But in 1971, President Richard Nixon woke up and decided to flip the script.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
This felt like a wild dream. Gold doesn't matter anymore. It is the dollar that will matter. And just like that, the U.S. cut its currency's link to gold, ending the gold standard. This was a monumental shift, leaving the value of money tied not to something tangible, but to the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. A lot happens after that. The IMF and the World Bank know better. Fast forward to 2009. As the world was reeling from the 2008 financial crisis, Satoshi Nakamoto observed the chaos and decided to create something entirely new. That is Bitcoin, a decentralized digital currency that doesn't rely on banks, governments, or even physical assets like gold. Here is the thing. It has turned out to be something even banks and governments cannot afford to ignore. There is a lot of debate whether Bitcoin has come to the mainstream, but you probably have heard these in the news. A gas station in Canada accepting Bitcoin as payment. El Salvador becoming the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender in September 2021, or Expedia accepting booking flights with Bitcoins. Whether that is mainstream adoption is subjective, and it is not the point of this video. But Bitcoin is not just for buying gas. Bitcoin evangelist Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, is not just talking about Bitcoin. He is betting big on it. Saylor's company holds over 230,000 Bitcoins, worth over $13 billion. He is out there preaching Bitcoin like it is the financial messiah, and for him, it is not just a belief, it is a strategy. The political class is also making moves on this. During the 2024 Bitcoin conference that was held in Nashville, Tennessee in late July, Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump jumped into the conversation, and he seemed to know exactly what the crowd wanted to hear.
If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be.
He is positioning himself as a defender of Bitcoin, recognizing the growing influence of digital currencies and the concerns surrounding a potential Fed-backed digital dollar. And then, going back a bit, on October 19, 2021, the Securities and Exchange Commission approved the first Bitcoin futures ETF. ProShares, VanEck, and Valkyrie Investments were among the first companies approved. This was a big deal for the crypto community. Suddenly, it became easier for people like you and me to invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been brought into the heart of mainstream finance, a space that gold had dominated for so long. So, where does this leave you? Gold has always been that reliable physical asset you can count on when things go south. It has been the go-to for centuries, a symbol of stability and trust. But Bitcoin is challenging the status quo. More people are seeing Bitcoin not just as a speculative asset, but as digital gold, and it is easy to see why. Think about this. You can use Bitcoin to pay for your morning coffee, buy a car, or even invest. It is fast, global, and accessible anywhere with an internet connection. Like the pounds of silver coins in your basement, gold is heavy, hard to transport, and not something you can easily use for everyday purchases. Bitcoin offers a level of versatility that gold simply can't match. So, could Bitcoin really replace gold? That is the billion-dollar question. Gold has a legacy that is almost impossible to rival. It has been the go-to asset for centuries, a symbol of stability and trust. But Bitcoin is more than just a currency. It is a technological revolution that's changing how we think about money and value. Sure, Bitcoin's volatility might make you nervous. It is not for the faint of heart, and its price can swing dramatically. But as more people adopt it, Bitcoin's volatility could decrease, making it a more stable asset over time. And who knows, in the not-so-distant future, Bitcoin could become the new standard. A digital gold for a digital age. Maybe it is time you consider having some of these digital grains in your wallet just to be on the safer side when the time comes. So, does Bitcoin really pose a threat to gold status? The answer is not straightforward. At least for the time being, gold remains a symbol of stability and long-term value, but Bitcoin is at the cutting edge of financial innovation. As money continues to evolve in this digital age, both gold and Bitcoin will likely play significant roles. But one thing is for sure, the story of Bitcoin versus gold is far from over, and you are going to want to stay tuned. Till next time, keep stacking those sats.